well, maybe order in which they went out to bat most times. Number 3, Rahul Dravid. Number 5, Saurav Ganguly. And gently slipping in at number 6, the very, very special man himself. And then all those runs at number 4. You might want to come to your own function, Sachin. Come now. And if you'll pardon me 10 seconds, I'm going to get out of this frame because I don't think I belong to this frame for a while. Just look at that. That is Indian batting at its peak. You put Sehwag in there and there it is. Who's the numbers man? How many runs between the two of you? If you ask Saurav who scored more, he'll tell you. But how many runs between all of you?
Saurav knows everything. I've forgotten. I've stopped playing almost 6 years now.
No, the 4 of you are still together. How much fun was it, Rahul? I mean, we are looking at one of the greatest quartets in Test history. How much fun was it?
Yeah, I think it was great memories. I think it's the beauty of sort of having been retired and being able to sit back and think about some of these things. When you're in it, obviously it's great fun and you have great memories, but it's also extremely competitive and you're trying to do well, you're trying to win Test matches, or sometimes you don't have an opportunity to sit back and reflect. Just to be a part of a quartet like this, for me was very, very special. And obviously, you had someone like Viru in this group as well. He, batted with us for 10 years. So it was a really special 5 to be a part of, simply because I think we challenged each other, we pushed each other, and I think personally, at least, I think I learned a lot from these guys in batting with them.
Saurav and Sachin knew each other from an under-15 camp, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the camp Vasu was talking about, Vasu sir, Indore. And that was the first time I saw him, and what struck me was how much he wanted to play the game. We used to finish practice, actually Vasu sir had to take him out of the nets. He was told that there are other people who are supposed to bat. There are about 20.
Was one of them left-handed waiting for his turn?
Yeah, but there were 20 of us. Okay. And we had to get an opportunity to bat, and it was hard to take him out of the nets. And the best thing was we would finish training by afternoon, and say about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then he and Vinod would keep practicing with the tennis ball, and we would go back to the dormitories. We were staying in the stadium. So that struck me at a very young age, that how much he wanted to bat, how much he wanted to play. Then I saw him in the under-17 in Kanpur, where he got 175. And what stood out for me was the bat he used. And how old was he then? About 15? 15 or 16? And it's one of the heaviest...
Well, if you were 15, he was 15, I mean.
Yeah, one of the heaviest cricket bats. One of the heaviest cricket bats I've seen ever. And you can understand, you grow up, and we heard about Clive Lloyd or the West Indians use heavy bats. But at the age of 15 to pick such a heavy bat, it was a Pakistani bat, Isan, if I still remember. To pick that bat and bring it down was really, really special, I thought.
Did you think, I mean, each of these 3 keeps coming into the book at various times and they stay in the book for a very long time. Did you think this gentleman next to you would have 300-run partnerships, this under-15 campmate of yours, you'd open the batting together for India, and then this young man, you'd make, what, 6,000 plus runs batting together? Is it all a blur? Is it coming back now?
You see, with Saurav, we started playing together in 1984 or 85, I think. 85, we went to...
Just about turned teenagers.
I think...
He was my roommate in
14.
the MRF Base Academy. Trust me, he was. And I still remember on that Mount Road in Chennai, we two never seen each other, and he used to walk in the night. And the first night, 2 separate beds, and he was sleeping.
We were roommates because you didn't want to sleep alone.
Whatever. Whatever. No, in those days we didn't get single rooms, and it's an honest confession. And one night I just saw him. He got up from his bed, walked around his room, and came back to sleep. So I thought he must have gone to the toilet, because I myself was half asleep. So I'd let it go. The next night I saw the same thing again, and I asked him that night. I said, "What's happening?" He says, yeah, I have this issue. So I used to be awake for the rest of the night.
Vivesh, you were the junior most. Was there a sense of awe when you first got? You come into the book a little later, so that's why I came last to you. Was there a sense of awe when you first came in? Because by the time you came in '96 Ahmedabad, you had already made quite a few test hundreds.
Yes, I was in awe of Sachin. You know, I remember playing under-19s with Amol Muzumdar, and we were playing against the England A side at the Wankhede, and I slept at Amol's place. And behind his door, there was a huge picture of Amol. Amol used to literally take his blessings before going to the ground, you know, and he used to adore him. So I heard a lot about him and Ravi Shastri from Amol, you know, when we were growing up. And the first time I met him was in 1996. You know, this was in Nottingham. I was playing club cricket there, and I went to the
team hotel.
Team hotel to meet all the players. It was a special feeling meeting him, you know, and then at that time also I could see the kind of humility he had, you know, because he always used to be the first one to come and talk to a youngster, and someone like me who was not yet part of the Indian team, just that experience, you know, felt, you know, really like $1 million experience which you would never ever dream of getting, you know. So I think I was very fortunate that since then I was able to you know, build this friendship with him. And I remember even my first test match with the team, he was the captain. He just made me feel so welcome, you know, made me feel comfortable. And it happens to all the cricketers who for the first time come into the Indian changing room. You know, they are in awe of Sachin. Just watch him from close quarters, because all this time before coming to the Indian team, they're reading about him, they're seeing him, they're probably wanting to meet him, which is so difficult for a lot of youngsters. So I think I was in awe of him, but he made me comfortable, and that's what is important.
It is true, isn't it, that when you went out to bat in Sydney, just before you went out, you were sleeping on the dining table?
Again, that time Dada was my room partner. And this time, again, he was sleeping. And I was practicing my drills at night because I was going to bat the next day. I stayed awake, you know, till almost 2:30 in the night. And I was thinking about how I'm going to bat the next day, and standing in front of the mirror, I was practicing, you know, doing my own things. And I didn't realize that Dada was awake quietly watching me. So the next morning,
Tell me, how could
I
you
was
sleep?
sleepy next morning.
I'll just interrupt. How could you sleep when all the lights in your room was on and somebody was practicing? All you had to do was to close your eyes and wait for him to sleep.
So before going into bat, I mean, I was really sleepy, and I worked up at the same time, and I told Dada that, you know, Dada, main sone wala hu thodi der ke liye. So just inside the dressing room, from where you could also watch the game, there is a big dining table there. So on that dining table I slept. I slept for a good half an hour or so. I said, agar kuch hota hai to batana mere ko. But that's where I thought, you know, I needed to rest a little bit to be able to do something special.
Upwards of 6,000 runs, Rahul, the two of you chatted a lot together, I'm sure. Is it true that you spoke to each other in Marathi only when you were playing against Pakistan?
No, I think I guess we sort of conversed in a lot of languages. But yeah, I think sort of when we were in the middle, I think we sort of tended to speak a lot in Marathi as well. We were not really, I think you didn't need to converse very much after you batted, you know, with him for a long time. But I remember when I first initially started batting with him, you know, I would bat at 3 and he would come in at 4. And I was a sort of young kid, and even though he was my age, he was sort of 7 years senior. He was my captain in the 3rd test match that I played, the one at Ahmedabad, or the one at Delhi, in fact, and against Australia. And, you know, he would walk in, and I would be a bit sort of nervous. Already you're quite nervous as a youngster, and you know, Sachin Tendulkar is coming into bat with you. Firstly, don't get him run out, otherwise you're lynched. You know, so that's the first thought. But then anyway, he comes in and he sort of, you know, he'll ask you, what's happening? What do you think? And you're thinking, this is a guy who's like already the best batsman in the world. He's played a lot of, scored over 10 test hundreds, or he played a lot of test matches. He's my captain. Is he taking the mickey, or do I really have to tell him, you know, is he trying to like play the fool with me or to check me out? And so I would be a bit nervous, but in time sort of realized that was his real, you know, humility, as Lakshman mentions it. You know, there was that eagerness when he came in to want to know what is happening, what are the wicket conditions like, what's he bowling, does he have a dusra, does he have a this thing. So initially it took me a bit of time to actually muster up the confidence to actually, tell him that, I think, this is what's happening. It took me a few runs and a bit of confidence. But initially I'd be like, oh, everything's okay, don't worry. I'm sure you'll deal with it, don't worry.
The story he tells about you in the book, VVS, when he was fighting his way through. You don't normally use the expression fighting his way through for Sachin. And we're going to talk about that in detail to Ajit later on. And he was getting his 241. And he says one of his biggest problems when he was getting to the 241, and he was in denial, I'm not going to play the drive, I'm not going to play this. And he says at the other end, this guy was hitting boundaries for fun. 178 not out partnership, he was just hitting and he's telling himself, no, don't. And you were just screaming boundaries at the other, and you're making it difficult for him, he says.
Again, it's humility, but I still remember the chat we had at the end of the Melbourne Test match. And I still remember in the dressing room there was a separate room where we could have the television, where we could see the statistics of the players. And I remember Sachin came and both of us were alone there. And he just came and discussed. And during our career, there were a lot of occasions when we used to have these chats. And he told that he was playing brilliantly, but he was just getting out in freakish manner. If you remember, he got out down the leg side to Bretley in the first innings of Melbourne. And then we went to Sydney. He went ahead of me because he was batting at number 4. I would go in, he was I think on 30 or 40. But what really struck me was his control. And I've never ever seen any batsman in my career who could control his instincts so much as what I saw. And I give example of that innings to everyone I talk, especially the youngsters, because usually we have game plan, usually we know what are the areas we are struggling, and we don't want to play that shots initially. But once you get in, and you're able to see the ball better, you're judging the pace of the wicket better or the bounce of the wicket better, then you start to play all your shots. But here was a person, he was on 100, Simon Catich is coming to bowl, Damian Martin is coming to bowl, and he doesn't play a single cover drive. And I've never ever experienced that or seen that before. And I mean, that's probably one of the most scintillating innings of Sachin, and which I always mention to him. The other inning was the one against Pakistan in Chennai, where he was having severe back spasm, but he still continued to play and dominate the Pakistan bowling attack. There he could get over the pain and still continue to play. And here, he was able to control his instincts and still continue to bat the way he did. And that shows what kind of shots he had in his book. He completely cut down the cover area, but still was able to get more than 200.
Sachin, was it a bit like you're fasting and he's having all the prawns and crabs at the other end?
Not just in Sydney. Generally, it was like that. Where half the world would be thinking that Lakshman is going to play cover drive and he'd be hitting through mid-wicket for a boundary, and that includes, the likes of Shane Warne. And I mean, I've not seen anyone play against Shane Warne, consistently hitting him against the spin on the rise. I mean, not many can do. Rather, I would say that the only one who did that consistently was him. And the special partnership between him and Jam was incredible. I mean, at the end of the third day, I remember in the evening we were all feeling low and all that. But 4 days effort between the two of them, I think they were competing who's going to outclass each other, and both just kept smashing boundaries. And the end of the 4th day, we started thinking differently, and it was because of their mega effort where, they had done something really, really special to turn around that series.
Tell me,
Lachi was part of it.
This is now starting to sound a bit like a Rajshri movie, where everybody is very happy with everybody else, everything is nice. There must have been the odd disagreements as well over 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people...
How did you handle that?
No, people talk about Multan all the time. And
when was the last time you were asked about Multan? 5 minutes ago? 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, no. Just telling people that every time I answered the question about Multan, I got a rupee, I would be a multi-millionaire. So...
just for the sake of everyone wondering what you're talking about, Multan was the 194 declaration.
I would think you didn't need to mention that. This is an audience you've just talked up at the start. Look, I mean, when you have 16 years together as players, There are going to be times when you're going to have the odd, I guess, disagreement, or you're going to agree to disagree, and that's going to happen, and that's part of, I guess, being a cricketer in a high-pressure environment, playing for your country, trying to do your best. But I think along the way there are also some really good memories, and there are really some really good moments. And the fact that we can sit here today and we're still friends after 16 years, at least for me. I mean, I know that. I'd like to believe that there's that,
I think so too.
I guess that
No, 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 at least for you, Jam. No, I think, let me tell you, there are so many disagreements that we
it's
we
not the
have in
only
the
one.
dressing room. It just happens so behind the closed doors, and the whole world doesn't get to see all those things. This one happened on the field, but that doesn't mean that, we are fighting and we are not talking to each other. I mean, we sort of closed that chapter immediately, and we've had many match-winning partnerships after that, and above all, Jam and I continue to be good friends. So I think that is what really matters. Disagreements, I mean, each and every cricketer sitting here in this room would have had some stage in his life. It just so that this happened,
I'm sure that, yeah.
I think the greatest thing for me on that particular day is obviously, I had a conversation with Sachin before the day started, and we discussed it and what might have happened. But the end of the day, and I think the abiding memory for me in that particular test match is me giving Sachin Tendulkar the ball on the last day that day to bowl and over, and he got Moin Khan out, and we walked off as a team celebrating that wicket. And for me, that was what it was all about. India were on the verge of an historic test win, winning a test match in Pakistan for the first time. And Sachin being able to sort of forget all of that and focus on what was the most important thing, as he's done so many often in his career, which is try and win test matches for India, and with the ball, and just to see that joyful glee. And for us as a team to be able to celebrate that, for me as a captain that day was just brilliant.
So in a sense, you took the wicket that justified the declaration.
No, I mean, but Jam stopped me the next morning. I only bowled 1 over. Jam, come on.
This was the next day after the. Yes.
Yeah, just to add on that, Arsha, I think for me the most memorable part of that journey was, while there were agreements or disagreements, everything was for the benefit of the team. And that's why I think we were all able to achieve a lot of success, not only in India, but even overseas. And all of us, not only 4 of us, but the team which played during that time, took a lot of pride in playing for the country. And I think what was important is when we went out there in the middle, it was not a competition amongst ourselves, but a competition against the opposition. We wanted to do well against the opposition. So I think that is the most important thing.
So Saurav, when only one of you had to open the batting in one-day cricket, how did you resolve that? When only one of you could go out to open the batting?
It was he who had to open. I had to bat somewhere else. And I've done that 3, 4, 5. He would open and I bat somewhere else.
Yeah, I batted a couple of times. I batted 4, right?
Yes, we did. I have done as well. He's done as well.
You had to always take strike also.
But one good thing is that I had
Always to take strike as well.
I did one thing. I remember taking strike. I wasn't scoring runs, so I came up and told him, "Sach, can you take strike? I'm just struggling just to change the luck. 2 or 3 games." He said, "No, I never done that. You do it." So I said, "Fine, I'll do it." I was captain then. I was the only captain.
मेरा तो वैसे ही run नहीं हो रहा था दादा,
I was the
तो
only
मेरे को लगा कि
captain.
मैं वहीं पे खड़ा रहूं.
I was the only captain who had to ask from my players, "Can I do this?" And no, it's true. So we both walked out. I was pretty annoyed. I said, "Come on, for one day you can do it." But I didn't say anything. We walked up. We both went past each other, and I just went and stood at the non-striker end. And then just find your place wherever you want to bat. So he went and took guard at the other end and played the first ball.
And took a single first ball, right?
I can't remember what happened. No, I think he got some runs.
Which team is this?
I think the problem is when he took strike for
बराबर
India.
सोच के बोलना.
I think the problem, it was against Pakistan, I think. I wasn't scoring runs.
There have been times. In fact, I remember we were playing in Guwahati, and I was batting with Dada. Shoaib bowls a short pitch ball where, about 5-7 feet away from me, it swings a little bit and gets in my rib cage. And I'm struggling, honestly. I mean, I only discovered later that I had fractured my rib. And I'm recovering, and Dada is saying, "Tu champion hai re, tu champion." I said, I can't talk. So I'm struggling to talk. I've broken my rib. And he said, "Tu champion hai, tu khelega." I said, "Let me recover."
Now, you wanted to open the batting in the 2003 World Cup, and he wanted to open the batting in the 2003 World Cup as well. So how did you resolve that?
It got resolved. You saw on TV who batted at number 3, didn't you?
But the,
You're still
but
asking that question.
the first
because
couple
there's
of
a
practice matches, I batted 4.
There's a
It's all practice matches because he was never up for practice matches.
There is a reference in the book to him batting at 3 or 4 in the warm-up games and expressing a desire to open the batting in the main World Cup.
Is it who's Sachin's desire? It's always been the desire. And any time you ask him to bat at 4, he will tell you, I'll do it, but I'm better off opening.
But you let him bat at 4 in the NatWest Trophy.
Yeah, I did a few times and we requested him. Even in the World Cup, Anil came, in the practice matches we had decided that he'll bat at number 4. Anil came before the start of the tournament and said, if we have to do well, we need runs at the top. And he felt that the best way was to get him to open, and that's when we decided that we'll open. John Wright was there with his tongue half out, still not agreeing to it that he should open. But he opened and he had a great World Cup.
The two of you had another very interesting partnership together. Not at Sydney where you put on 353 together, but in a game where scoring 100 was difficult. And that was Mumbai 2004 when he was barely able to grip the bat because the elbow had started to come up again. And both of you put on 100 runs?
In fact, yesterday I was telling that was probably, apart from the Sydney 300-run partnership, the one at Wankhede and the one at Eden Gardens in 2002 against West Indies in the second innings. He got 100, I got 100. But we saved the test match. If we wouldn't have had that partnership, we would have probably lost the test match. I think, yeah, Wankhede was probably the worst wicket. I don't think so there was a wicket in fact.
We are in Mumbai.
Doesn't matter, but I don't think so that there was a wicket, because the match finished in 2.5 days. The first day hardly there was any game played, but I think more than that partnership, the way we played in that partnership was important. Even on the wicket where stroke play was difficult, both of us were getting boundaries and we were able to dominate the Australian bowling attack. So I think for me, I've always mentioned that is a match winning or a match saving partnership is more important than just having numbers. I think that partnership was very memorable.
Am I allowed to take some credit for that as well, for making Lakshman bat at 3 in that innings and batting lower down?
And you thought Rahul Dravid is this good boy, right? Go on. You sent him up a...
No, I think, yeah, we promoted Lax because I was batting and they saw that wicket was really turning.
So you thought you'd rather
much
stay
better.
than he goes
Yeah, I mean,
I know you don't want to put it that way, but it seems that way. The wicket was turning, so I sent him up.
Yeah, so I'll bat lower down when it turns more. No, but no, because I just felt we needed someone who could play positively, and I was going to go out there and try and block the hell out of it. So at least Lax would go and play positively, play some shots along with Sachin. And yeah, it was a brilliant partnership, and it's a great test match to win because defending 104 in the last innings, it was an incredible test match, and we added what that partnership was the one that changed the game.
There's a lot of talk in the book about the atmosphere in the team. A lot of you seem to place a lot of store on atmosphere in the team, and you talk about how it was when John Wright was the coach and how it was when Gary Kirsten was the coach and how it was therefore when Greg Chappell was the coach. Does that make such a difference? Because finally when you go out onto the field, it's you, right? So did that make such a difference that a coach could ensure, VVS talks about coming in 2006 into the side and seeing the atmosphere was completely different? Does that make such a difference?
It does, because in the end, when you're going out to bat, you want to go with a relaxed frame of mind because already there's so much of expectation from you. You're having a huge responsibility. You're representing the entire country. And I've always maintained cricket is not just a sport. It's a religion in our country. It's a passion for each and every Indian. So already there's a lot of, not pressure, but expectations. So when you go out, you have to go with a relaxed frame of mind. Only then can you actually go out and play with a free mind because cricket ultimately is a game where you have to enjoy. It is a sport. And it's not a job or it's not a profession. So until and unless you're not enjoying that, you will not be able to play to your potential. So I always respected that. And there were times, when, especially during 2006, yeah, it was definitely the toughest period for me as far as the dressing room atmosphere is concerned.
Sachin, you write in the book about saying that you didn't want Chappell with you in the 2007 World Cup. You've mentioned in the book that you would have been better off if he'd not been there in the 2007 World Cup.
Yeah, I've written that in my book, and the only reason I felt was I agree with Lakshman that the atmosphere could have been better. It wasn't a healthy atmosphere. The atmosphere has to be such in the dressing room where it brings the best out of you in the middle. and I felt that wasn't happening, and then the environment was very negative, I felt, and it was just a downfall from there on. So I thought maybe, if we travel without that, it would definitely change the atmosphere in the dressing room. And I also said that we senior players are willing to take all the responsibility and will manage the team.
Was 2007 the lowest point for all four of you, or were there others?
I guess when you play 16 years or 20 years of first-class cricket, you're going to find a lot of ups and downs. I mean, if I were to look at my career over, I guess, the 20 years that I played first-class cricket in, there were some really good moments, and there were some tough moments. And 2007, for me, especially as a captain, was a really tough moment. It was a really difficult time as well for me, just in terms of not qualifying for the World Cup. But I guess 7 years later, when you move on from a lot of these things, you realize that there are also some pretty good times that you've had, and there are some ups and there's some downs, and that's the way sport is, and that's the way, I guess, life is.
Was it for you the lowest point as well? 2007?
Yeah, not qualifying for the World Cup was very, very disappointing, because I didn't know whether I would make it to the World Cup in 2007. And then when I did, I thought we had a great side to get to the end. Unfortunately, we didn't. I think we had the strongest side in 2007 for the World Cup in the West Indies, but obviously couldn't win. But we had some good things happening after that, winning in England when Rahul was captain, those test series after 25, 26 years. And it really felt good, because yes, World Cup's good, it's one-day cricket, but going away and winning in England and in those conditions was very, very satisfying. So we had tough times, we had some good times, but then as Rahul said, it was tough. It was probably toughest for me, but that's the way it goes.
There's a lot in the book about these four people playing cricket together, and that's one of the more enjoyable things. We've all watched it from a television screen sometimes, from far away sometimes, but they had a lot of fun, and you give us a lot of fun as well. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on final time, Rahul Dravid, Sourav Ganguly, VVS Lakshman. Thank you very much, gentlemen. VVS, I think they want you to wait, Sourav, they want you to wait for a photo opportunity with the four of you together. Now, who in the crowd's counting the number of test runs here? This is not bad, is it? Well played.
झी 24 तास रहा एक पाऊल पुढे.